Have you ever been home alone at night and heard a sound you just couldn't explain? A creak from the floorboards upstairs, a whisper on the wind that sounds a little too much like your name. Most of the time, we brush it off. It's just the house settling, the wind, an overactive imagination. But what if it isn't? What if, one night, you were forced to confront the source of those sounds? This story is for anyone who has ever felt that little prickle of fear in the dead of night. My story takes place a few years ago. I was house-sitting for my aunt and uncle in their old two-story farmhouse. It was miles from the nearest neighbor, surrounded by nothing but cornfields and a dense patch of woods. I loved the solitude. During the day, it was peaceful. But at night, the house had a different personality. It groaned and sighed like a living thing. The first couple of nights were fine. I'd read a book, watch a movie, and fall asleep to the sound of crickets, the usual stuff. But on the third night, something changed. I was in the living room, binge-watching some show, when I heard it. A soft, rhythmic tapping. Tap, tap, tap. It was coming from the second floor, directly above me. I muted the TV and listened. The house was silent except for that persistent sound. I figured it was a branch hitting the window, so I tried to ignore it. But it didn't stop. It was too regular, too deliberate. Tap, tap, tap. It sounded like a fingernail on a wooden floor. Annoyed, I trudged upstairs to check. The hallway was dark, illuminated only by the moonlight filtering through a tall window at the end. I checked every room. The guest bedroom, my aunt's sewing room, the bathroom. Nothing. No open windows, no branches. The moment I stood still in the hallway, the tapping stopped. I shrugged, blaming the old house's quirks, and went back downstairs. As soon as I sat down and unmuted the TV, it started again. Tap, tap, tap. This time, it was faster, more urgent. A knot of unease tightened in my stomach. This was different. I yelled out, "Hello? Is anyone there?" Only silence answered me. But the tapping stopped again. This little game continued for another hour. I'd try to watch my show, the tapping would start, I'd yell, and it would stop. It was maddening. It felt like something was intentionally trying to get my attention, to play with me. Finally, I'd had enough. I wasn't going to spend my night being spooked by a noisy pipe or a mouse. I grabbed the heavy cast-iron fireplace poker and headed back upstairs, determined to find the source. As I reached the top of the stairs, the air grew cold. I mean, noticeably, shiver-inducingly cold. The tapping had stopped, and the silence was now more terrifying than the noise had been. I crept down the hallway, poker held out in front of me like a sword. I checked each room again, more thoroughly this time. I looked under beds, in closets, behind curtains. Nothing. I ended up in the master bedroom at the end of the hall. The door was slightly ajar. I knew I had closed it earlier. I could feel my heart hammering against my ribs. Pushing the door open, I scanned the room. The moonlight cast long, distorted shadows from the antique furniture. The four-poster bed, the wardrobe, the vanity mirror, and that's when I saw it. In the reflection of the vanity mirror, I saw the room behind me, and in the reflection of the hallway, standing just outside the doorway, was a figure. It was tall and impossibly thin, a silhouette of pure darkness that seemed to absorb the light around it. It had no discernible features, just a vaguely human shape that was utterly wrong. It was perfectly still, watching me. I froze, my blood turning to ice. My mind screamed at me to run, to scream, to do something, but my body was paralyzed. I couldn't take my eyes off the reflection. The figure in the mirror slowly, deliberately, lifted one long, spindly arm and tapped its finger against the reflected door frame. Tap, tap, tap. It was the sound I'd been hearing all night. A wave of pure terror washed over me, finally breaking my paralysis. I didn't scream. I didn't even breathe. I just turned and bolted. I flew down the stairs, not daring to look back. I didn't grab my keys, my phone, or my wallet. I burst out the front door and just ran. I ran down the long gravel driveway, the sharp stones digging into my bare feet, not stopping until I hit the paved road. I flagged down the first car that came along, a trucker on a late-night haul. The driver must have thought I was insane. A guy in pajamas, wild-eyed and breathless in the middle of nowhere. I babbled something about a break-in, and he was kind enough to take me to the nearest all-night gas station. I called the police from there. When they went to the house, they found nothing. No signs of forced entry, no one inside. Everything was just as I'd left it, except for one thing. The fireplace poker was on the floor of the upstairs hallway, and on the door frame of the master bedroom, the police found a series of small, deep scratches in the wood, right where I'd seen the figure tapping in the mirror. My aunt and uncle came home the next day. I never told them the full story. How could I? But when I mentioned the strange tapping noises, my aunt's face went pale. She just said, "Oh, the house makes noises sometimes. You get used to it." But the look in her eyes told me she knew exactly what I was talking about. I never stayed in that house alone again. Sometimes, late at night, when my own house is quiet, I'll hear a faint sound, a creak, a tap, and my blood runs cold all over again. Because I know that some things can't be explained away. And I know that what I saw in that mirror wasn't just a shadow. It was watching me. And maybe, just maybe, a part of it is still watching. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever had a similar experience, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Stay safe, and maybe keep a light on tonight. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more true scary stories. Until next time.